All right, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for staying to the last presentation today with Fable, working with assistive technology users to improve web accessibility. Fable is excited to celebrate Global Accessibility Awareness Day with you. Fable's mission is to empower people with disabilities to participate in, contribute to, and shape society. They recruit assisted technology users to be a part of digital accessibility research and design, as well as provide free, accessible skill-building opportunities through their on-demand course library, Fable Pathways. Learn about Shane's story of acquiring his disability, using his assistive technology, and his start with Fable as an accessibility tester. They will also share what work and free learning opportunities are available from Fable to launch your career in tech. Please welcome our Abilities Expo partners, Shane, Kehoe, and Kim Donaldson.
Wow. Yeah, happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day. We're very excited to be here. I'm so excited. I was asked actually like 2 months ago to do this. I'm like, yes. And for me to, I'm afraid of flying. So, and I came from Toronto. So, yeah, I'm very excited. Global Accessibility Awareness Day happens, the third Thursday of May every year. And it's just a day really to recognize and discuss and learn about digital accessibility.
Great start, Shane. I'll let you keep going. You're doing great.
I just say like next slide or something? Or?
We are at the next slide. Yeah, we're already here. Yeah, working with assistive technology users to improve web accessibility. You want to go to the next one?
So, my name is Shane, and I'm the community talent manager at Fable. And basically, my job really is to grow the community, to hire people with to become accessibility testers. Yeah, I love my job so much.
My name's Kim. Thanks again for sticking around to the end. I know this is kind of late in the day. My work with Fable is largely with our program called Fable Pathways, free online learning for people with disabilities interested in working in the tech sector. And I'll talk your ear off about that in a little bit. Used to work with our community in recruitment, but Shane's much friendlier than I am, so we slotted him in there instead.
Awesome. So, what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk about who is Fable. Also, talk about my story. I love to talk about myself, just saying. So, and assistive technology, like what it is, and some of the accessibility issues that may come up, and also accessibility testing with Fable. And then you'll have a chance to ask us any questions that you want.
So I'm going to share a little bit about Fable. Just quick show of maybe hands in the room. Who's heard of Fable before today's event? A couple of hands. Okay. So we're based out of Toronto. We're about 5 years old. We just celebrated our 5th anniversary. And so part of us being a part of this event was to connect with folks in BC and open up conversations across the country. And I live in Victoria, and so I'm a little bit more familiar than the rest of my colleagues about some of the organizations and conversations that are happening in BC, but really wanted to take this opportunity to kind of immerse ourselves in those conversations. So when we think of accessibility, I think we're at the point where most folks are familiar with physical accessibility. So we think of the event today, some clear signage, very wide lanes between stalls so that wheelchairs can navigate through. But fewer people are as familiar with the same type of thing in digital accessibility. So in the same way that people with disabilities should be involved in the designing of physical spaces, we feel that people with disabilities should be a part of designing accessible digital spaces. We think back to when curb cuts were developed about 80 years ago. They were developed for veterans, veterans to aid in their employment. And so it took this thought process of someone immersed in that community to come up with this. And now curb cuts are used around the world, and a curb cut works much better when we plan it from the start, right? When the curb is poured, it works much better when that cut is part of that design process as opposed to applying it after. Imagine trying to cut out a piece of a curb after it was already there. And so we apply the same thing to working digitally. Accessibility needs to be included in the design process from the start. So I mentioned that we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary. Fable started with one accessibility tester. We now have accessibility testers who live across Canada and across the United States. So our colleague Sam, who is now our accessibility evangelist, his role now is to just talk about digital accessibility, which works out really well. He gets to do something he loves to do, which is talk, and gets to talk about something he's very passionate about, which is digital accessibility. Our community has grown from screen reader users to including people who use screen magnification, and then finally including a group that we call alternative navigation, which includes users of devices like voice navigation, which might be voice control or Dragon Naturally Speaking. It could include eye tracking, switch control, and head mouse. Our mission is to empower people with disabilities to participate in, contribute to, and shape society. As our community of testers has grown, we've seen there's a large interest in our community wanting to work in the tech sector and work beyond the work that they do with Fable. Most of our community members have not worked in the tech sector before, and this is kind of launching their career into that sector. And so today I'll be talking to you a little bit about our learning platform, which was designed to help folks be able to work in other sectors or other parts of the tech sector, not only in that corner of digital accessibility. On the slide here, we have a few logos. We have Microsoft, Walmart, CVS Health. If you're not familiar with them, it's an American, kind of like an American Shoppers Drug Mart. Meta, which you may be familiar with, who manages Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Spotify, Figma, Slack, and Shopify. So these are customers of Fables, and we specifically work with organizations who have a large scale. They have thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even millions of users. And the reason for that is when an accessibility tester provides feedback, they flag an accessibility issue. Someone from the design team of our customers listens to that feedback, takes that away, makes a fix, and comes back the next month, and they've solved that problem. That one piece of feedback impacts the hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people with disabilities who that accessibility issue is going to affect.
So what is it, like working with Fable? So first, you don't need any resume to apply. You don't need a cover letter, and no previous experience. Basically, you go to makeitfable.com/community and apply there. But the things that I personally look for when I recruit people are people who are professional, and have good communication skills and are passionate about accessibility and what they want to do and what they do, and just really want to make a change. Our testers, they earn a good wage. In Canada it's $40 an hour that we start at. We don't pay by gift cards or gift certificates. They get money every month put in their bank account. Our testers, they learn skills working with us. They learn valuable skills such as organizational skills, communication skills, time management skills. They learn how to recognize different types of issues that they may not have seen before. Like there's all sorts of skills and experience that they gain. And, you know, they can use it as a stepping stone to get into the tech sector. Some of our testers have actually gotten permanent full-time jobs with other organizations, you know, from just, you know, working with us. We have an awesome, amazing community of testers. You know, we just value them so much. And personally, I love them. I actually used to be a tester almost 3 years ago now. And then I got a, you know, position on the core team, and yeah, they're amazing, amazing people. Excuse me. They support each other as well. And by that I mean, like, we have a wiki on groups.io, and our testers, they will actually go there and ask questions of each other. Say their technology received an update and now something's not working. They'll post that, and other testers will help them, and, you know, everybody helps each other. Like I said, they're a special group of people, and we're so lucky to have them. And they continually improve, you know, websites and apps, as Kim mentioned before, for some of our customers, well, all of our customers, that she mentioned some of them earlier. Yeah, without our community, really, we aren't anything.
So Shane shared some further detail about work opportunities with Fable within our community. I'm going to share a little bit about learning opportunities. So I mentioned that as we've witnessed our community grow and expand, there's been such an appetite from people wanting to expand their skill set and wanting to work in the tech sector full time. And so with this, we developed Fable Pathways. And the idea with Fable Pathways is that people could gain complementary skills to the skills that they were gaining as accessibility testers to further their careers. I worked in employment services for a time before I worked with Fable. And I just found so much of the training and coaching available was encouraging folks to enter minimum wage employment. Why not have people enter the tech sector? Accessibility is a relatively new sector. There's really no specific requirements to enter it. You could enter it through many different channels. And so if we can help folks gain the skills that they need to work in this sector, then we can have more people with disabilities across technology and start talking about accessibility in more conversations. And so on the slide here, on the left-hand side, we have the instructors of our 3 core courses right now. We launched Pathways exactly a year ago today. We launched on Global Accessibility Awareness Day last year. We launched with 2 courses. The first 2, Getting Started in Web Development, that was in partnership with Microsoft and was delivered by a gentleman by the name of Kelly Ford. Kelly Ford had been working with Microsoft for about 20 years, I think, at this point. He's a screen reader user himself. And he does a really nice introduction to using 2 web development tools, GitHub and VS Code. And as a screen reader user, you can hear a screen reader giving that feedback. And so I think extra special for other folks who use that particular assistive technology, but by no means is it limited. The second course was delivered by our colleague, Kate Kalsevich. Kate's been working in accessibility for over 20 years, public sector, private sector, and she's been a manager for much of that time. Kate is hard of hearing, and so delivers this course from the perspective of a manager with a disability. Talks about some of the skills that are necessary in management from her perspective and from her career, and helps folks determine whether management is right for them. Maybe you're looking to advance your career, but management is not really that interesting to you. So how to become a subject matter expert as another way to move your career along. And then finally, last fall, in October, Disability Employment Awareness Month, we launched our 3rd course with the late Judy Human. If you're not familiar with Judy, Judy passed away earlier this year. She was a disability advocate in the United States and was largely responsible for much of the legislation that exists in the US for accessibility. She also worked with the World Health Organization and impacted accessibility legislation around the world. Her course, Advocating for Work, helps people identify what their own needs are in the workplace and how to advocate for them. You know, it can be scary disclosing a disability. It can be scary asking for accommodations, but also it's scary entering a work situation where your needs are not met. Courses are free. I'm going to repeat that. Courses are free. I'm repeating it because that's the most popular question that I receive. The sign-up process is relatively simple. You enter your name, email, create a password. You receive a verification email, and you are able to take the courses. The courses are a mix of video-based content and text content, and they're self-paced. We reached out to our network before launching these courses and just asked folks, what are the biggest barriers in terms of online learning, in terms of employment? And the feedback that we got was cost was a major issue, accessibility. So for folks who use assistive technology, they often spent more time just trying to navigate the content as opposed to actually learn the skills they were interested in. And the final one was timing. So being slotted into a cohort or a semester sometimes didn't work for folks. And so for that reason, Fable Pathways courses are free. They're accessible. They've been tested by our community of accessibility testers, and they are self-paced. And again, really just looking to help folks with disabilities advance their careers in the tech sector. We have these 3 courses right now, but also looking to expand what we're offering. I'm going to pass it over to Shane to share a little bit more detail about his journey.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so I wanted to share just a little bit about my journey yeah, I'll just start. Back in 2004, I worked in factories for probably about 10 years. And I was able to drive, I had a boat and all sorts of things. And, you know, I got this really cool job working in a factory, working in a control center. So basically what I would be doing is working on some computers, controlling all the machinery in the factory. However, during that time, within the first month, my eyes started to kind of fluctuate, and they just weren't stable. They'd be great one day, the next day they wouldn't. So I went to my doctor, and they sent me to a specialist in Toronto. So the specialist, he looked at me and he literally said, there's absolutely nothing wrong. And he said that it's all in my head. I'm like, okay, it's all in my head. Cool, nothing really to worry about. And he said, like, you can drive. I'm like, okay, so what do I do? Because I lost my other job, I got a job driving a truck. So, you know, I'm driving the truck and, you know, my eyes started fluctuating again. And I pulled over and I quit on the spot and went back to my other doctor. And he sent me to 3 people, or 3 organizations. One was the IVI Institute in London, another was a low vision clinic in Waterloo, and then another one was a ophthalmologist surgeon in Guelph. And they did all their tests and they suspected cone rod dystrophy, and they were correct. So during all of this time, I became, you know, confused and angry and like all these emotions. And up until I went to the low vision clinic in Waterloo is where I saw the very first piece of assistive technology that I recognized, at least that I really didn't even know existed. And it was a CCTV. And what that is really is a screen with a camera underneath of it and a tray, and you can put paper under it to see it. It'll magnify it. It'll change the contrast. Changing the contrast means like, for me, it was reversing the color. So instead of like black print on a white background, it was white print on a black background. It just made it easier for me to see. And I thought, this is the most amazing thing ever, because I've never seen anything like this. And then they showed me a piece of software on a computer, which was Zoom text. And it's a type of magnification, screen magnification. And it blew my mind. I thought I wouldn't be able to work be on a computer, be able to control a computer again. Like, I was pretty ignorant back then when it came to any kind of assistive technology. I had no clue about any of it. And so I went back to school, and you know, I went back to school for human resources and got a job up in my local city government. It was all contract for a few years. Well, actually about a year. they renewed the contract a few times, and then it ended. And then, I got another, they brought me back for another year. And then it ended. So during that time, it was pretty cool because they gave me accommodations, and I learned more how like some of their stuff wasn't accessible. And as I grew, I just learned more and more and more about accessibility and assistive technology. So when that job ended, I thought, I'm going to go back to school again. So I went back to school for psychology and learned all kinds of things about psychology and industrial organizational psychology. But while I was at school, at the university, I got involved in every single thing I could to do with accessibility and accommodations, the AODA, which is the Accessibility for Ontarians Disability Act. Sorry, I couldn't remember it for a minute. And yeah, I just got involved, and I actually got a job at the university doing document remediation and teaching the faculty and staff how to do it. And that's where I learned about my first discussion about Fable. And they said, have I ever heard of Fable? I said, no. And they said, well, why don't you just give them a call? So I did. And I became a tester. And I tested for about 3 or 4 months. And then a job came up and I applied for it. And I did all the testing and everything else, and I got it. And it was really cool because I learned so much more about Fable. I learned something every day working at Fable. And it was quite a journey to where I am now, because my job evolved and evolved even more to this job that I have now. And really the reason I'm telling you all this is because, like I said earlier, I was quite ignorant, not knowing what I could do when I lost my sight. And a lot of people don't realize that there is, a lot of jobs out there to do with accessibility and assistive technology, and that it's not the end of the world to like lose your sight or start losing your sight. And like, there is that assistive technology to, help you do things like that, things that you can do that everybody else can do as well. As long as websites and apps are accessible. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of share that.
I love the passion that Shane has for Fable. It never fails to bring a smile to my face. Shane, could you share maybe a little bit about what accessibility is to you? I think accessibility is different for anyone. But what is accessibility for you?
Yeah, it's all about inclusion. It's all about, websites and apps being able to be accessed by people, like by everybody, and barrier free. A website that's broken and they don't have the say a button doesn't work. Just for example, a button's not labeled. Somebody with a screen reader, they're going to be not going to be able to, access that whole website. They may want to be able to make a purchase. However, a button just doesn't work. That's actually the pay now button, for example. So like a website should be able to work for everybody, no matter what you're trying to do. It needs to be inclusive. And, like all elements need to work. A few months ago, I tried to book a flight to go somewhere, and the website itself timed out on me, and I couldn't book that flight. I tried 3 or 4 times. I could not do it. And then I called the airline to do it, and they actually wanted to charge me an administration fee for calling them and having them do it. That is not accessible and not cool as far as I'm concerned. And there shouldn't be any barriers on websites either. Like I said about like buttons and things like that just don't work. It's all about inclusiveness, and I've got all the respect in the world for companies that want to make their websites and apps digitally accessible for everybody to use.
Awesome. So just and again, I'm going to go with a quick show of hands. Does anyone use an assistive technology to use their computer or their mobile device? Seeing a couple of hands. Okay, cool. And of course, I'm sure you're very familiar with the assistive technology that you use, and maybe not as familiar with assistive technologies that other folks may use. So we're going to share a little bit about what those assistive technologies are.
Cool. Yeah. So there's, at Fable, we test with a few different types of assistive technologies. One is screen readers, another is screen magnification, which I use. Personally, I use Zoom Text. I'll talk about that in a minute. And the other one is alternative navigation forms of alternative navigation. So these include things like switch systems or eye gaze or head mouse or Dragon Naturally Speaking, which we're actually going to have a demo in a few minutes. And somebody might use these in combination. So whatever works best for them. There's screen readers that are like, for example, JAWS, which is for Windows, and it's a third-party screen reader that you can purchase. Then there's NVDA, which is open source, and it's for Windows as well. VoiceOver, which is for Mac and iOS, and TalkBack, which is for Android. For screen magnification, there's and basically, sorry, I forgot. For screen readers, basically a screen reader will allow somebody who's blind to navigate around their computer and websites and apps using their keyboard, their tab button, and it'll read different elements of the website or app or their computer so that they can actually use it. For screen magnification, it's just that it magnifies the screen. It could be the full screen or part of the screen. They also have different things within many different types of screen magnification programs, which are like color inversion. So for me, it's reversing the colors. Like I said earlier, the black writing on a white background, change it to white writing on a black background. For me, it's a lot easier because if I do it the other way, it's hard on my eyes and I start getting headaches and things like that. So it's important to have these functions. And so there's Zoom Text, which is what I use. It's third party as well, and it's made by Freedom Scientific, who also makes JAWS and Fusion. And then there's also like the built-in magnifiers, built in both into Mac and Windows. And then alternative navigation, like I mentioned before, are the switch and things like that. And it's pretty cool. Like somebody might use a head mouse to move around the screen, like with their head, and the mouse will move wherever they move, and then they may use their switch system to click, or they may use their switch system to type, or with sort of like a Morse code kind of idea. It's pretty cool because these things can be programmed the way that they want to be used. And yeah, it's just really, really cool.
Cool. Thanks, Shane. Shane, you mentioned a few of the accessibility issues that come up for some types of assistive technology. You flagged some of the things that come up for you, flagged some things that come up for screen reader users and for alternate navigation users. Do you want to maybe just out of those three pick one example, just dive into a little bit more, maybe something that you've experienced or something that you've witnessed someone else experience?
Yeah. Just one thing, eh?
I know it's hard.
Yeah. I'm gonna say for me, the poor contrast is actually one of them that's hard for me. So some websites, they may have the print on a website might be a light white color, and then the background could be a light gray. And it's hard for anyone to see, but if you're a magnification user and say you have some color blindness or you invert the colors even, it's very hard to actually see that print and read that print. So websites like that, I get lost on a lot. And I'm going to cheat. I'm going to say another one. There's bubbles. I don't know if you've ever seen them. There's like an information button beside an element on a website, and it's just like a little eye, and you know, mouse over that or click it, and then a bubble opens, and it's got the information that you want to see. However, what drives me absolutely crazy is if that does not stay open for me when I move the mouse over to see what's in there, because I'm using screen magnification, I only see part of the screen, and I go to move the mouse over, and the minute I do, it closes, so I can't see actually what's in that element. And it's just very difficult to know what that is. And it just, yeah, it drives me crazy, just saying.
Yeah, both great examples. I'm glad you touched on them both. And so we have a short video here for one of our colleagues who uses Dragon Naturally Speaking. We have a bit of a video, and thanks to the tech team for helping us get set up there. We had some Wi-Fi issues. And so Tin just walks through a marketing page that we had up using Dragon Naturally Speaking and just identifies or is looking for accessibility issues in that.
All right, so hello, my name is Tin, and I will be testing this landing page, I guess for the marketing team here, just to see how accessible it is with Dragon Naturally Speaking. I'm just going to go through each sections of the page. I see something here, the get free video assessment, try filling out the form field, same button at the bottom. I'll do the buttons probably towards the end, just because I don't want to be redirected to another website. These are all information. Okay, so I have two buttons I can play with. I'm assuming these are for logos, and then I have the form. So let's, I'll do the buttons last. So let's just start by waking up Dragon. Wake up, scroll down, page up, page up, page up. Okay, so far scrolling is okay. I'm just going to see if there's any hidden elements on this page. Show links. There's only one element on the button, which is great, because it's the only thing that you can interact with. Sometimes you see in other websites where they have like numbers around here as well, which is pretty weird. Hide numbers. Page down. Show links. Show links. Okay, perfect. So these all have, yeah, proper labeling. So you can just say like, choose one, test, go to sleep. So yeah, I was able to use the show links command, which numbers each one of the sections that we can interact with. And then I was able to just choose a specific number and get it to work. Now the other thing is, if I weren't to use the number system, I would say something like click name, or sorry, click first name. And yeah, in this case, it'd be first name, or click last name, click company. Let's see if that works. That is the primary use. That's my primary use of Dragon, at least, is using the click command because it's a lot quicker. Wake up, click first name, test, click last name, Fable, click company, Fable, go to sleep. All right, so yeah, it seems like all the headers are fine. This one here is a bit long. Please share with us briefly. So let's see if I can just say a couple of words in the beginning, and it selects it. Wake up. Click please share with us. Wonderful, that worked. Click first name, go to sleep. Now I'm just going to try tabbing through each section, because I do know that some testers use tabbing, and that's fairly important. Wake up, tab, tab, tab. Working at Fable, at fable.com. I'm just going to delete that. Test at test.com. Page up, page up, go to sleep. All right, so I'm not going to spend too much time trying to get my symbol out, like this symbol out, but all the form field works wonderfully. Even the dictation is fine. The whole email thing is always an issue just in general. by saying, I don't know, like my email at makeitfable.com or something like that. It doesn't really give the ad symbol. We have to select it and then change it to the symbol itself. But not gonna waste any time on that. Everything so far has been great. Now I just need to check the check boxes and then the 2 buttons that are available. Yep, that is it. Let's try them now. Wake up. Click Get Free Video Assessment. It brought me to the bottom one. Click Get Free Video Assessment. Click Get Free Video Assessment. Oh. Test at test.com. Tab. Test.com. Click I would like to request one. Click Get Free Video Assessment. Go to sleep. All right, so not gonna lie, everything works wonderfully. The click command works with all the elements. The show links command works with all elements. And then of course, although I didn't show it in this little demo, mouse grid just works with everything. Wake up, mouse grid. 8, 7, 3, 2, mouse click. Oops, I don't know if I'll also submit something, but I did. I apologize. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That should do it for my demo there. I was able to use all commands and without any issues whatsoever. Dictation was great as well. It also knew that the difference between when I was writing in my fake first name along with while I was still in that edit field, I was using a command and it didn't actually write out the command in the edit field, but it actually initiated the command itself. That is also great because some pages, once you're in an edit field, whatever you say, even if you're using a command, you're constantly stuck in that edit field. All right, so everything worked great on that landing page. Thank you, and I hope this helped.
So what I like about that video is even though it's not the regular flow of an accessibility test, we can see that by actually having someone go through a particular task flow. This is what a customer would see if they had a live meeting with an accessibility tester. They get to ask questions about the individual's assistive technology and be able to engage in a bit more of a back and forth and get a truer idea of any accessibility issues. Other types of things that are used in this sector are things like overlays or automated testing. By actually engaging with folks who use these types of assistive technologies on a day-to-day basis, we can get a much fuller understanding of what the real user experience is. So just a couple of extra things about why should people with disabilities be a part of accessible design? So the tagline, "Nothing about us without us," is used across many disability communities with the understanding that people with disabilities should be a part of the solutions that are designed with them. With Fable, this has been a value that we've held true from the very beginning. And the idea of by designing for people at the margins, we make a more accessible and inclusive environment for everyone. It's true both of the physical space as well as the digital space. The term shift left, you may or may not be familiar with. Shift left refers to implementing a particular aspect, in this case, accessibility, earlier in the design process. So if we look at accessibility after a website is built, we've got to go back, spend time, spend money to create accessible elements. And most likely in the end, won't be as smooth of a user experience as if we actually involve people with disabilities in the accessibility planning from the beginning. Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, also known as WCAG. These are used across the industry. They're a standard that's used around the world for digital accessibility. And they're kind of the baseline of accessibility. So if you manage a website, then you can look at these Web Content Accessibility Guidelines online, and you can try to make all of your elements in line with the guidelines that are suggested. However, some issues fall outside of the recommended guidelines. And so by actually engaging with folks and getting real feedback, we can flag any issues that might fall outside of those. And so in line with that, the idea is that we can move beyond compliance. So Shane talked a little bit about legislation that exists in Ontario. I believe that's the only place in Canada right now where we have digital accessibility legislation. BC, we're working on it. The US has legislation. Organizations of a certain size must have WCAG compliant websites. But by moving beyond compliance, we can make accessible, inclusive products for everyone. So some of the advantages to digital accessibility for assistive technology users, I hope by this point it's becoming a little bit obvious and evident. One, with the pandemic, we saw a huge shift to working remotely. And so all those tools that we use on a regular basis, lots of people got onboarded to Zoom, right? Anyone not use Zoom in the room? Right, okay, just for clarification, 0 hands went up. And so Zoom is a tool that we use for our remote collaboration, and it's an accessible tool. It was chosen for our company based on its accessibility. And so with that, folks can work remotely. We now have a remote first work policy. Everyone can access the same information. Shane shared his anecdote about trying to get a flight and running into issues there. So in terms of making purchases, gaining information, when websites are not accessible, we're on the same playing field. We don't have the same access. In terms of work, if you've been through any kind of online work application, I feel your pain. It's a frustrating process. Everybody's got their own platform to go through. And when those platforms are not accessible, it's, an immediate flag to an individual who uses an assistive technology that, maybe their needs are not going to be of interest and they're not going to be met. Keeping in touch. So again, with the pandemic, moving to video-based calls, social media is something that many people use across the world. And so by keeping all these tools accessible, easier to connect, and purchases already touched on. In terms of organizations, going back to that talent piece, by having an accessible platform, by having an accessible application process, you're going to attract a more diverse array of employees. And if you're trying to sell products, you may reach new demographics. The going statistic is 1 in 5 people in the world lives with a disability. And that's why the organizations that we work with, are interested, aside from it's the right thing to do, are interested in tapping into that market. And we talked a little bit about compliance, and so in those places where legislation does exist, avoiding any litigation. So what does an accessibility tester do? From Tim's demonstration, that's a pretty close example. Testers can provide feedback either in writing or verbally, generally in meetings. And so when testers provide written feedback, they follow something called a task flow. And this is a specific set of steps that has an individual go through a very specific task, such as making an online purchase. Verbal feedback. So typically an accessibility tester will meet with a customer, again, over Zoom, and they may share information on their assistive technology. They may share general information about their experience with a client's app or web page. And there's more room for conversation, that back and forth, for the engineer or the developer or designer of whomever they're meeting with to actually get a better understanding of what that experience is for the accessibility tester. And this is an example of that task flow that I mentioned. So if you were providing feedback in writing, you'd have something like is on the slide here. So on the left-hand side, we have a list of 8 steps. And on the right-hand side, we have a screenshot of a web page that we actually use for training and hiring. And it's a yoga sign-up webpage. There are many inaccessible elements on it. And so the 8 steps here are asking the tester to go through just specific actions within the website, navigating to particular portions of the website, and finding things like yin yoga or specific buttons. And I'm going to pass it back to Shane just to share some final thoughts on what the community experience is.
Yeah, so this is a quote by one of our testers, Michael Sideros, and our testers really do feel this way. It says, I have the opportunity of making the online world more inclusive for those who have disabilities so that they can feel more a part of the society that everyone lives in. Like I said earlier, like our testers really are passionate about making the world a more accessible place, more digital products more accessible. And personally, like I said, I was a tester and then I got this job and I learned something new every day. And personally, and I get to work so close with the community. I'm on the community team, and I get to hire all the testers, which is awesome. It's a great feeling in the world, best feeling in the world, to be able to give somebody a job. But like I said, I look for passion and I look for professionalism and things like that. But somebody who has passion, like me, and where I'm so passionate about it, and like our testers, they are too, and I just got a special place in my heart really for our community, and I get to go to work every day to a job that I love, and really it's the community and it's all my team members and what Fable stands for that I am lucky enough to do this. So I really don't know what else to say other than, I just love our community of testers at Fable.
Shane, your passion is heard, I think. If folks have any questions, we're happy to field questions. Looking for a hand maybe, or feel free to, I see one hand there. If you have your hand up, then you know who you are. Go ahead. Thank you. Great question. Absolutely. So Shane talked about no experience required. So you don't need to have any experience in user testing or accessibility testing before. Really, the prime skill is some awareness with the assistive technology that you use. I wouldn't even say an expert user, because folks who use websites have a variety of skill levels. So it's important for us to be working with folks with different skill levels. And then the second kind of key skill that we would look for would be communication skills, and up to you in terms of what you feel more comfortable with, providing feedback in writing or providing feedback in a meeting like we talked about, and we'll help you gain the skills. We offer paid training. We'll help you get to where you need to get to be able to provide feedback. Does that answer your question? Thank you. A lot of head nods around the room, agreeing with what you're saying. Shane, I think mentioned the starting pay rate of $40 an hour. Also want to say that as people gain more experience and become more proficient and I guess better at providing feedback, there's also opportunity for those rates to go up. And absolutely, we think that people with disabilities should be part of the tech sector and should be compensated accordingly for their subject matter expertise. So thank you for the comment. Any other questions in the room? Yes, on the right. For sure. So the question was, do we test with folks who only use assistive technologies or with other experiences that don't involve assistive technologies? And the answer at the moment, while all of those experiences absolutely are related to accessibility, the way that we found to push accessibility forward in a large way is by working with folks with assistive technologies. And I will say that's for the time. We've been around for 5 years. We started by only engaging with people who use screen readers. You know, we're able to enlarge the community to folks who use screen magnification, and then beyond that to use other types of assistive technology. So I'm not going to say that we're not going to get there. I'm just going to say we're not there yet. Any other questions? Great. Well, then, hearing silence and seeing no hands, I'm just going to come up, pull up our final slide here. Just thanks so much for sticking around for the end of the day, being an engaged audience. Really appreciate it. If you're interested in learning more about Fable, 2 best places online are makeitfable.com/community and makeitfable.com/pathways. If you want to contact either Shane or myself, pretty straightforward emails, shane@makeitfable.com and kim@makeitfable.com. We'll be here to the end of the day. We have a table at the front of the room out there. Come by and say hi. You can sign up for Pathways on the spot if you like, or just learn a little bit more. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and thank